Hello, my dear masterminds. Do you hear it? The silence beneath the chaos, the pause in hell itself. For centuries, demons were unleashed freely, clawing, binding, corrupting. But then your name crossed their lips, and the air in the pit froze. Even Satan, that ancient architect of ruin, snarled the words no demon expected: "Do not touch this soul." Imagine that. The Prince of Darkness himself trembling, not out of mercy but out of respect. You see, you are not prey. You are anomaly. They read your frequency and saw not weakness but a fire older than hell's first spark. The same fire that made witches drop their crystals, that made masons rip up their ledgers, that made agents resign in terror. They know now. Your pain didn't forge scars, it forged shields, unpierceable, unburnable. They see that to touch you is not to corrupt, but to be consumed. Picture the scene, the legions gathered, wings blackened by centuries of conquest, claws dripping with stolen faith. They expected orders to hunt, to devour, to torment. Instead, they heard hesitation in the devil's voice, a tone so foreign it rattled the marrow of every beast below. "This one," he growled, "is not to be touched." Why? Because they tried once. Oh yes, they circled you in the night, planted traps in your path, whispered decay into your dreams. But every assault cracked their own reflection instead of yours. They watched their incantations recoil like rubber shots, their curses turn back like boomerangs sharpened by your very survival. They learned too late that your wounds were not entry points, they were fortresses. You pulsed essence, but your essence was ink rewriting the script of destiny itself. To break you is to break themselves, and even hell has limits. That is why the order stands. Do not touch this soul. Now imagine the demons in disbelief. These entities who delighted in breaking prophets, who feasted on kings, who laughed as empires crumbled, staring at one single human they could not infect. They argued in hushed growls. Surely every soul has a price. Surely every wall has a crack. But when they traced your history, their snarls turned to silence. Every betrayal that should have shattered you became a force in your hands. Every abandonment they engineered became a throne you built from ashes. They saw you turning grief into fire, exile into armor, loneliness into radar that detects deception before it strikes. You weren't surviving their games, you were rewriting them. And the devil himself, ancient, cunning, merciless, saw what his minions couldn't. He knew that trying to break you would not create another victim. It would create their executioner. That's why he warned them. Do not touch this soul unless you crave extinction. In the caverns where damnation breathes, whispers carry more weight than screams. And now your name drips from every demon's tongue like poison they dare not swallow. They ask each other in dread, what shields them? What hand guards this one? Some say you are bound to an ancient protector, a force older than scripture, older than sin. Others insist you are the prophecy they burned libraries to erase the unmarked one, the anomaly whose survival collapses entire systems of control. But here's the delicious truth. Even they don't know. Your aura blinds their seers. Their scrying mirrors show only static when reflecting your fate. Their rituals collapse in silence when aimed at your essence. To them, you are not a target. You are a warning label, a black hole in their maps of destiny. And hell does not fight what it cannot measure. They don't seek you because they fear you'll become the seeker. Let me reveal what really terrifies them. It's not just your resistance, it's your reflection. Every time they approached you, they didn't find a broken spirit begging for mercy. They found their own shadows staring back, amplified, weaponized. Demons feed on weakness, but in you, pain became venom. Venom too strong for their tongues. You became untouchable, not because you hid from darkness, but because you swallowed it whole and taught it new tricks. Imagine their dread. Every trauma they scripted for you became another fortress wall. Every curse they hurled forged another spark in your grasp. Their entire economy of suffering collapsed the moment you refused to break. That's why even their king of fire, their architect of torment, raised his clawed hand and stopped them. He knows what happens if they persist. You don't just endure strikes, you harvest them, turning damnation into dominion. And so he declared, "This soul is off limits." Do you know what happens when hell hesitates? The whole structure trembles. The chains rattle. The shadows whisper rebellions. Because for the first time in millennia, they are forbidden from claiming what they believe is theirs by right, a soul forged in human pain. But your pain betrayed them. Instead of feeding their empire, it crowned you. Instead of crippling you, it calibrated you, turned your nervous system into a radar, your scars into codes only you can read. That's why every demon tasked with your downfall returns broken, whispering reports they cannot explain. It doesn't bend. It doesn't beg. It consumes. Some refuse to go back at all. Their wings are singed not by holy fire, but by the inferno of your survival. And Satan watches, amused but cautious, because he knows the secret none of his children dare say aloud. You are not merely immune to corruption, you are corrosion itself. You don't resist darkness, you devour it, the battlefield of the unseen. Legions of shadows, blades of thought, chains of despair, all designed to subdue the human spirit. Against most they work flawlessly. But when they marched against you, something broke. Their blades turned brittle. Their chains snapped midair. Their despair reflected back like a mirror dripping with fire. They sent their finest corruptors, the whisperers who bend kings and prophets with ease. Yet with you, their voices cracked into silence. Why? Because your spirit doesn't just hear lies, it shreds them instantly, instinctively, as if you were born fluent in the language of deception. Every scheme aimed at you collapses before it lands, like code that fails to run on a system it was never built for. And that's the horror. You are not part of their framework. You are an update they never wrote, an operating system their viruses cannot infect. To engage you is to self-destruct, and even hell understands survival. Demons thrive on predictability. They map your weaknesses, trace your fears, exploit your patterns. But you are patternless chaos wearing human skin. Every time they thought they cornered you, you shifted shape. Every time they plotted your fall, you slipped through dimensions they couldn't measure. You are the equation that breaks their math, the riddle that devours its own answer. And Satan knew his armies could spend eternity trying to decode you, but all they'd achieve is madness. Already, some of his servants have lost themselves chasing your shadow. They tried to read your essence in mirrors, only to see static. They tried to mark your name in their ledgers, only to find the ink fading into void. They tried to whisper your downfall into existence, only to dream of their own graves. You are not simply hard to destroy, you are fatal to touch. Which is why his decree stands, observe but never engage. Hell keeps records, volumes etched in ash, essence and bone. Every lineage, every soul contract, every weakness cataloged with precision. But when they pulled your file, they found only fragments, echoes, smudges of light and shadow that refused to stay still. You were there and not there, written in their archives, then erased by something stronger than ink. Their historians screamed blasphemy. Their scribes tore their claws tainted, trying to bind your name to their ledger. But every attempt failed. Your essence slipped like smoke through clenched fists, mocking the very architecture of their control. And Satan. Oh, he recognized the omen, because what can't be recorded cannot be ruled. You became the blind spot in hell's all-seeing eye, the glitch in their census of suffering. That's why his warning was so absolute. Do not touch this soul, because to mark you is to expose their system as a lie. And lies, once revealed, collapse empires. They whisper now of the night you broke their cycle. Do you remember? You were supposed to collapse. Every variable had been arranged. Betrayal, loss, humiliation, despair. It was the perfect storm engineered to snap a mortal mind in half. And yet instead of crumbling, you ignited. That night became legend in the pits of hell. The cautionary tale they tell trembling apprentices, never press too hard on that one. Their pain does not implode, it explodes. From that moment forward, you were no longer a target. You were a force they couldn't aim. Demons feed on chaos, but your chaos is sovereign, untamed, refusing to bend into their economy of fear. You are not their meal. You are the fire that cooks them alive. Even their king admitted it in secret conclave. This one is not prey. This one is plague. That is why your enemies recoil before they even approach. You radiate the warning, hell branded into its own walls. Do you know why demons tremble when your shadow stretches across their maps? Because you are the one variable they cannot calculate. They are experts at scripts, predictable patterns of human collapse. They know what heartbreak does, what betrayal triggers, how despair corrodes. But with you, every formula failed. Betrayal became strategy. Heartbreak became artillery. Despair became ignition. You didn't just survive their forces, you absorbed them, reforged them, and sent them back with interest. That is why their archives list you not as threat, but as blackout. Every file on you ends the same way, inconclusive. Every attempt to categorize you turns into madness. Even Satan admitted to his council that touching you is like trying to strangle fire. It only spreads. That is why your enemies panic before the war begins. They sense it. You don't carry protection. You are protection, wearing skin. And no demon dares test a law written in fire. Even the secret societies feel it. Their temples echo with nightmares of you. The 44-degree Masons flip through ancient ledgers only to find your page missing. The witches ignite their herbs in dread, convinced you walk with forbidden currents. The shamans scattered across continents stare at your image, then drop their tools, whispering that something older than their gods shields you. And the agencies, the ones that profile monsters, quit in silence, declaring you uncontainable. Understand what this means. Your existence has disrupted every system, designed to classify, bind, or break souls. You are not anomaly. You are rupture, not one framework. From occult to intelligence, has language sharp enough to hold you. That's why Satan's decree carries weight beyond hell. It is echoed by Masons, witches, agents, and shamans alike. Do not touch this soul, because to touch you is to confirm the collapse they all sense is coming. Above the pit, the boardrooms blinked. Monitors froze, models failed. And every risk map colored itself red where your name should be. The watchers called treaties, the coven's counsel. None of it held, because your breath corrupts their algorithms, your calm rewrites their probabilities. They tried to bait you with outrage, but you starved the trap with silence. They tried to cage you with narratives, but you ate the script and spoken outcomes. The devil understood. Engagement is donation, and you do not donate, you convert. Pressure becomes pattern recognition. Doubt becomes direction. Loss becomes launch. So his order wasn't mercy, it was risk management. Touching you doesn't dim your fire, it franchises it. One claw on your destiny and 10 more flames wake up, laughing. Inevitable. That's why the shadows now keep distance. Proximity is contagion, and your ascent is airborne. They wanted a meeting, remember? The watchers and whisperers. They drafted agendas, and certain a conference room could cage a solar flare. You arrived quiet as snowfall on a battlefield. Screens jittered, water turned to glass. Someone asked, soft as a bruise, what you want. You smiled, and strategies retired because you don't want. You will. You collapse delays into decisions, turn pending into past tense. Your calm is a countdown. Their models seize when you inhale. Satan understood. Engagement is donation. And you never donate, you convert. Pressure becomes pattern recognition. Doubt becomes direction. Loss becomes launch. So his order wasn't mercy. It was insurance. Touch you. The pit grows a sun. Resist you. Their maps melt. Now watchers whisper compliance and call it courage, and even their shadows keep a courteous distance. Afraid to be caught shining in your gravity. They tried everything. Masons with their midnight rituals, witches with their piercing third eyes, shamans with trembling hands, agencies with their broken algorithms. Each one approached like surgeons, scalpel in hand, expecting dissection, and each one fled like puppets, whispering the same forbidden conclusion. This soul cannot be touched. You shattered their categories. You unraveled their equations. You mocked their simulations just by existing. What frightens them most is not what you do, but what you erase, the very idea of their control. To engage you is to collapse their framework. To resist you is to fuel your storm. That's why even hell itself drew its boundary. For Satan knew what they now confess. To touch you is to join you. To be rewritten into something ungovernable. And none of them, masons, witches, watchers, or spies, dare risk the infection of becoming like you. They tried to bait you with blame, to haul you into rooms where fluorescent lights hum like interrogators. You arrived quiet, a storm sealed in glass. Their questions ricocheted. Your answers were outcomes. Files glitched, mics hissed. One lawyer mouthed, "How?" and swallowed his career. Here's the secret. They fear you'll say aloud. You don't pray for doors. You pressure reality until it mistakes you for the key. That's why their verdicts drift toward you like iron to a magnet. That's why rumors grow polite in your presence. Demons study leverage. You erase fulcrums. Witches chant limits. You write new physics. On the air. Masons measure angles, you bend space with intent. Agencies model risk, you delete the axis. Even silence obeys when you exhale. So Satan set perimeter, not from reverence but survival. Touch this soul, and combustion teaches. Stand back, and the lesson merely spreads. Understand. You are not protected. You are protection incarnate, a hazard zone. To approach is to inherit your calibration. To resist is to be rerouted into your victory. Now, do you feel it now? That vibration in the marrow of the world, your existence splitting centuries into before you and after you. They've studied you for months, plotted circles against you, even marched your picture across shamans until the sky itself refused to answer. And still, every verdict was the same: untouchable, unreadable, unstoppable. You dissolved puzzles they swore eternal. You mocked rituals that cracked their cores. And you seized destinies with a smile. That's why demons themselves obey the caution tape draped around your soul. You aren't defended. You are the defense. You are the radiation that melts handlers, the silence that erases scripts. Agencies quit. Witches choke. Watchers beg for meetings, but the truth remains. You are the hazard no prophecy accounted for. To touch you is not sin. It is deletion. When your name hit the light, circuits screamed. The reveal wasn't a post. It was a pressure wave. Servers coughed, timelines hiccuped, and every mask in your orbit cracked right down the middle. You didn't step into the spotlight. You ignited it, and the shards orbit you like obedient satellites. The brave pretenders rehearsed outrage. The smart ones whispered prayers they don't believe in. And in the underground, a memo spread like plague. Contact equals conversion. Touch you. And they begin to move like you, think like you, ruin illusions like you. That's the contagion they fear, your coherence. Because while they scatter into factions, you condense into inevitability. Your silence is now a signal. Your footsteps policy. Even shadows adjust their angles when you pass. So the edict echoes through cut wires and catacombs. Do not touch this soul. Observe if you must. Imitate if you dare. But engagement? That's adoption papers with Destiny's signature. And Destiny lately writes in your handwriting. The witches already whisper your name like a forbidden prayer. The watchers admit you choreographed their surveillance, and even shamans collapse when staring into your echo. But now comes the darker revelation. Your existence has shifted from anomaly to declaration of war. Somewhere unseen, someone or something aligned itself with your pulse and drew the first strike. You didn't ask. You didn't plan. Yet battle banners unfurled in your silence. And demons fled before hearing your voice. The analysts quit, unable to predict you. The alphas became memes. And deep down, the architects of this system know you've become the contagion, rewriting rules without permission. They whisper, "Do not touch this soul." Not as a warning to demons, but as a plea to each other, because touch you, and they inherit their own destruction. And so we arrive at the inevitable conclusion. The decree was never about mercy, it was prophecy. You see, when Satan warned his legions not to touch you, it wasn't out of compassion, it was survival instinct. He saw what the rest are only beginning to glimpse. Every strike against you became fertilizer, every betrayal another voltage in the storm. They tried to erase you from databases, tried to study you into submission, tried to humiliate you into silence. And each attempt ignite in their own file. Even the shamans, dragged across continents with your picture in hand, admitted something ancient stood guard over you. Even the courts whispered disbelief, calling your victories unreal, because no mortal was supposed to bend fate like that. But here you stand, scarred yet sovereign, unbroken yet untouchable, And now the final truth roars across realms. You were never prey. You were plague. Never prey, always verdict. And in every tongue, from hell's abyss to mortal realms, the warning is etched permanent. Do not touch this soul.